So, ladies and gentlemen, here today, the 4th of June 2024, we are attending a debate with motion. This House would ban video games in which the player engages in brutal and immortal violence in a realistic setting. First team, government team. The first speaker is Nandia. The second speaker is Devika, which is also a reply speaker. And third one is Alia. And from the opposition team, the first one is Yoka, first speaker. Second speaker is Reina, which is reply speaker also. And the third one is Ardan. So, without further ado, stage is yours, government.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, honorable judges. Good morning, partner in our opposition team. Good morning, fellow debaters, and all members of this house. I'm honored to stand before you as the Prime Minister of this debate. Today we are going to debate about the concerning issue of video games. Our government team firmly believes that video games that engage in brutal and immoral violences should be banned. And I, as the Prime Minister, will bring definitions for this motion. First, video games. We define video games as an electronic games that involves player to do interaction in game to generate visual feedback. Second, we define violence as an act of hurting, damaging, or bringing brutal behaviors, either by words or action. Third, we define realistic settings as something that is based in real life, and we are also focused on the real life settings. And fourth, we are mainly focused on the players who are still underage and still learning in school. Ladies and gentlemen, video games appearance itself is already concerning in the first place. This due to how ridiculous it is to see video games are mostly romanticizing violence. Players are unconsciously engaged in doing violences, ignoring the potential harm that will make them even worse. And I, as the Prime Minister, mainly have two arguments for this motion. First, video games are applying violence to the players, both written and orally. Video games, especially the popular ones, are showing violences into their gameplay and narratives. This type of violences is often advertised heavily, both visually and verbally. A survey conducted by the Journal of Health and Cardiovascular Nursing in Jakarta in 2023 results that 72.2% of children who spend their time on violent video games are more likely to be aggressive. This due to the long term of playing and high simulation when making brutal and immoral violence in game. This results in youngsters tend to use inappropriate words, such in games and real life settings. Now, take a look at your surroundings. Are most children nowadays using inappropriate words? Okay, second, age restriction and parental controls in video games aren't actually that strict. Video games are a massive industry, and with that growth comes the concern of protecting young players from inappropriate content. Age restriction and parental controls are supposed to be the solution, but are they really effective? According to a recent survey, over half of UK parents allow their young children to play games rated 18+ without any supervision. And what's even worse is, they don't even follow age restrictions in general. This comes from a survey of over 2,000 UK parents conducted by the childcare.co.uk. The survey found that 86% of those surveyed didn't follow video games age restriction, while over half of them had no knowledge at all that their children are playing 18+ games. This suggests that children are finding ways to use inappropriate content. And also, age restrictions are nothing but a yes and no questions. This very low encryption makes it easy for anyone to access violent video games. And I'm pretty sure that at least some of you have siblings who are able to access inappropriate game content, although they are still underage. And because of that, about 43% of them saw negative changes in their child's behavior after playing video games. And 22% of them noticed that their children using negative or offensive language after playing such a game. Because of the increase in violence and lack of strict usage on video games, our government's team stand here to state that video games should, or I must say, must be banned in real life. I'm Putunane Chandradewi, thank you.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, so the Prime Minister has stated that she has misled the role of video game itself. My name is Gede Lavendra, as the leader of the opposition team. I stand here against banning video games in which the player engages in brutal and immoral violence in a reality setting. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Educator, the Honorable Government team, the Honorable Opposition team, and the Honorable members of this House. Today, I would like to deliver my speech in a rebuttal towards Prime Minister's statement and addressing two of my arguments, which are first, banning video game would demolish freedom of speech, and second, banning video game would give a disastrous impact toward millions of people economically and socially. Ladies and gentlemen, before I start, let me restate the definition of this motion. First, video game is an interactive media that engages the player to interact with the picture on a video screen. Second, violence is a power that can harm towards something or someone physically or psychologically. Third, realistic. Realistic is what or close to be in real life. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, first, the government team, the Prime Minister said that as restriction and parental control are not effective to avoid children playing violence video game and romanticizing violence. But it has been discussed since 1994 through the cases of Night Trap and Mortal Kombat, resulting in ESRB or Entertainment Software Rating Board, which can restrict a specific age toward specific games. Now, according to American Psychology Association in 2021, violence behavior and violence video game is not strong and the effect are only small. The correlation between it is not strong and only give a short-term impact. So, violence behavior in children actually created by the external factors, like parental. I want to say that the age restriction not effective because it is actually not the role of the video game itself. It's the role of the parent to convey the children to not play violent video game. So it's not the video game fault, and it is a nonsense argument from the Prime Minister. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I would like to address my argument first. Banning video game that engages the player in a violent realistic setting will demolish freedom of speech. So game itself is a form of art, and banning video game that has a violent realistic setting will demolish the creativity and ability of game developers in creating and expressing themselves. I will take an example of Game of the Year. Since 2004 to 2023, Game of the Year winner always been a video game that has a violence realistic setting like Red Dead Redemption, Sekiro, and GTA 5, etc. Now imagine banning video game itself. It will, with those achievements, banning video game that has a violence realistic setting is nonsense too. Second, a banning video game that has a violence realistic setting is going to give a disastrous impact towards millions of people economically and socially. In gaming industry is the biggest entertainment industry right now, twice bigger from movie industry and music industry combined. And there are, according to Yale Press, please.
Thank you. Are we going to let parents unable to work just to take care of violent video games that their children are playing? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the POI. So, parent itself is the role that the children needed to control the children itself towards what they consume. So, it has a relation between video games banning. Okay, so let's continue. So, with each year expanding, with 3 billion of gamers and 3 million more of video games workers, not including video makers and journalists, banning video games that has violence in it will demolish and destroy billions of people economy. Also socially, because in social there are let's say GTA 5 has been sold 200 million of copies since per March 2024, and active 100,000 players until now have great communities, and banning it will make this good community destroyed too. So it is also a nonsense idea. So in conclusion, I stand here to disagree with banned video games in which the players engage in brutal and moral violence in realistic setting because first, they diminish freedom of speech, and second, will give a disastrous impact towards millions of people. I stand here, Gede Lavendra. My argument will be strengthened by the next speaker. Thank you.
I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, esteemed opponents, and member of the House, as the Deputy Prime Minister, I stand firmly to support this argument or the motions that this House prevent video games in which the player engages in brutal and immoral violence in realistic setting. I thank to the leader of opposition for the argument. However, I must address several points that have been raised and explain why they do not hold up again our case for banning violent video games. The first opposition speaker may argue that the freedom of speech can make the people interact with the player close in real life. But freedom of speech is fundamental rights, but there are not very unlimited everyone's. There are restricting to protect the public from harmful content such as hate speech, child pornography, and then the threat of violence. Similarly, with violent video games that show the brutal and immoral violence in realistic setting, it might be seen as going too far if they prevent the harm to society. As our Prime Minister states that video games show violence to players in both words and action. Video games, especially popular ones, have a lot of violence on their story and gameplay. And then age restrictions and the parental controls in violent video games is not very strict. Video games are big industry, and with that come the worry about the protecting younger player from inappropriate content. And then, in addition to what the Prime Minister have said, we need to think about the wider effect on society, which I will explain. The first is psychological damage. Seeing violent scenes in video games many times can make people less sensitive to real life violence. This can reduce their natural dislike for violence and empathy for victims. Studies show that 80% of people who often play violent video games have less their emotional response to real life. And then, this lower emotional response can happen in real life too, making people less likely to react properly from violence or distress. Playing violent games can increase aggressive thought, feeling, and action. This game can blur the line between the virtual and the real aggressions for the player. For example, research shows that people who play violent video games are more likely to act more aggressively shortly after they playing the game. And then, this can show up as irritability and confrontational behavior and even psychological aggression. The intense and the stressful situations in violent video games can lead to the higher anxiety levels. Also, the addictive nature of this game can cause a social isolation, which can lead to the depression. For example, gamer who spends too much time playing violent video games might feel more anxious of the constant adrenaline rush, high stress situations in the games. And then over time, no interaction with people can make them feel lonely and then get a feeling like depressed. Playing violent video game a lot can affect the development of good social skills. Players may choose gaming over real-life relationships, leading to the social interaction. For example, teenagers who often play violent video games have a lower interactions with friends and family. The time spent gaming is not time to spend learning social skills, which are important during the formative years. Ladies and gentlemen, my argument number second is public safety. There is increasing concern among the research psychologists and policymakers about the possible link between the violent video games and real-life violence. While the evidence is not completely researched, several studies and indicators suggest the connections between the player and the relationship in real life. Many studies show that the player of violent video games had higher level of aggressions and lower level of empathy. This behavior change can lead to real actions, making individuals more likely to behave. By reducing access to violent video games, we can lower honor the risk factor linked to violent behavior. To summarize, repeat exposure to violent video games can lead to destinations to real-life violence, reducing natural aversion to violence and empathy for victims. Studies indicate that frequent players show less emotional response in violent images may not react appropriately to real-life violence. Violent video games can also increase aggressive thought, feeling, and action in real life. Violent video games can also impress aggressive talk feeling because resulting in irritability, confrontational actions, and the psychological aggressions. Thank you.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and also the fellow debaters. Allow me to continue the argument from the first speaker of the opposition teams that we shouldn't ban video games in realistic setting while player engage in brutal and moral violence in realistic setting. Because from the second speaker of the government team said that video games affect in physiological damage and also affect in public safety. Because from the survey that led by Aaron's Drummond in 2019 from 20x global studies that says for more than 21,000 young people around the world say that there is no correlation between the gaming and aggression, and also it cannot even count as a small effect. So the second reason is because there's age restriction based on the Entertainment Software and Rating Board that categories video games such as teen, matures, adult, and adult only. So before the children play video games or download the applications of video games, they can check or their parents can check whether it is appropriate for their age or not. Also, regarding to public safety, for example, cases or other crimes is said to be caused by violent video games, but there's no strong evidence that violent video games are the only reason for these cases, because there are many other factors that can be caused. Such as parental influence, the environment, the education, and so on. And in global scale, there are territory variables that lead to increase this case, such as the relatively higher accessibility to a firearm. And also, before I presenting my argument, I want to state the two arguments mentioned by the leader of the opposition team. The first one, banning video games can destroy the freedom of speech, that is, banning creativity and ability of the game developer to express themselves, creating video games based on their creativity. And the second one is banning video games can... No, thank you. Banning video games can engage player in violence and realistic setting is not going to have a positive effect, because it can disaster economic and social impact, because more than 3 billion people playing video games, and it can cause the violent video games is the largest industry, 2 times bigger than film and no thank you. 2 times bigger than film and music industry. Also, from the argument, I'm adding 2 more arguments that support the opposition teams. The first one is stress relief, because violent video games can be the a place to player to relieve the stress. According to Entertainment Software Association, that do the survey from more than 12,000 players in 12 countries around the world. And 71% of respondents say that playing video games help them to feel less stressed, less anxious, and etc. And also, especially those with very high tempers, to release their anger by not hurting anybody. Also, for example, in 2023, one Reddit user says that Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, or one of the violent video games, saved his life, because at the moment he depressed because he struggled for money and missed the day that he plans to commit suicide. Also, the point is, banning video games can actually provoke violation in other in the others, such as accessing illegal sites. And also, if there's no stress relief, people can take it out to the real world, like they can use drug and commit suicide. And the second argument is develop problem-solving skills. According to expert named Isabella Grant, PhD, playing video games can also help youngsters to develop problem-solving skills, because mostly the games is challenging and they have to think critically and to be strategic to be the winner of playing video games. That's all. Thank you.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, the honorable adjudicators, opposition team, and my fellow debaters, and ladies and gentlemen that present here. I'm Tutu Ali Ajini as the third speaker from the government team, and here I would like to I would like to strengthen and emphasize our first and second argument, and then I will to raise a point up by the opposition team. So first, I want to rebut first and second opposition speaker that may claim video games can help reduce stress. As explained by the second speaker, by my second speaker says that. Gamers who spend too much time playing violent video games may feel more anxious because of the content's adrenaline rush and high stress situation in the games. So why you are still saying that video games can reduce stress? And then for first speaker has been say about I'm sorry, and then for first speaker has been rebuttal with my second speaker that freedom of speech. It is a fundamental right, but it is not unlimited, and there is a restriction to protect the public from harmful content and such as hate speech, child pornography, and use of violence. And then, no, I will try to resorting my first and second argument. First, my first speaker has said about parents' lack of supervision of their children while buying video games, resulting in them by a certain in them accessing underage video games, and she already provide data by a survey over 2,000 UK parents conducted by childcare.co.uk, and the survey found that 86% of those surveys didn't follow video games age restrictions. And then my second speaker has stated about many children experience psychological disorders, and as a result of playing video games, violent video games can lead to higher levels of anxiety. And then my first and second speaker has said about video games advertising violence to the players, both written and orally. And then she already provide data by Journal of Health and Cardiovascular Nursing Jakarta 2023 result that 72.2% of children who spend their time on violent video games are more likely to be aggressive. And then about public safety, that many studies show that players of violent video games have higher levels of aggression and lower levels of empathy. So, the honorables, the adjudicators, now I would like to add additional examples to strengthen my first and second speaker. So, let's consider the game GTA 5. This game allows players to engage in violent activities such as assault, theft, murder, and other forms of brutal and immoral behavior within a hyper-realistic setting that closely mirrors in real life. The realistic graphics and scenarios can lead to several detrimental outcomes, and the survey found that 89% of parents believe that violence in video games can contribute to aggressive behavior in their children. And then, let's see the second example, PUBG mobile game. And this game realistic violence and competitive nature have raised concerns about its impact on behavior and mental health, and particularly among younger players. And then constant exposure to violent content in this game can increase aggressive and behavior and make players more irritable or angry. And then children and teenagers who play these games can be more easily influenced and mimic the violent acts they see in the games. And survey by childcare.co.uk say that 43% of these parents report negative behavior changes in their children, such as increased aggression and offensive language. And I'm sure those of you here use PUBG mobile game, right? And then when you lose or when you fail, directly you said an offensive language, and it is the real example in our real life. And then we can say that PUBG can have a bad impact for our life. And then the honorable adjudicators, and in conclusion, this example and data clearly show that aggressive video game playing can trigger significant real-world violence. And despite age restriction, if children are deprived of parental supervision, they will find ways to access these games, and resulting in consequences of violent behavior, negative psychological outcomes, and even poor speech and attitudes. And then, I guess, those of you who have siblings and even yourself have infrequently been influenced by video games, right? And the honorable, the adjudicators, and ladies and gentlemen, once again, I agree with this motion. This house would ban video games in which the player engages in brutal and immoral violence in a realistic setting. And we win from this motion. Thank you.
Okay, I will start to speak in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, and the honorable adjudicator, the opposition team firmly reject the motion proposed by the government team. Banning video games with brutal and immoral violence in realistic settings is not the right solution. Throughout the debate, the opposition team has consistently presented the following arguments. First, banning video games in realistic settings it undermines freedom of speech. Games are form of art like movies and novels, and there are no direct link between violent behavior and violent games. According to Jurnal Genesis Indonesia 2022, there are 4 factors that influence people doing violence. First, influence of peers. Second, influence of social media. Third, influence of knowledge. And fourth, influence of family. Peers play most important role in influencing teenagers to commit violence, with a percentage until 89%, while violent video games with realistic settings are not included. Quite the opposite. Kabir Al-20 2020 in his research said that video games can increase our creativity. Second, banning video game in realistic settings will have severe social and economic consequences for millions of people. For the example, Warner Bros. Discovery, which owns games like Mortal Kombat, Batman, and Fear, has 35,000 employees in the world. Banning violent video games in realistic settings will reduce the company's revenue, leading to employee layoffs. Second and third, games with brutal and immoral violence in realistic settings can relieve anger. On 24 August 2021, Twitter user ChatBabyX tweeted that running people over in GTA was therapeutic. Many people seem to agree, and the tweet going viral and earning 41,000 likes and 11,000 retweets within 2 days. While a study from Behavioral Science Institute found that several gamers who are playing StarCraft 2 find useful coping strategies to handle their negative emotions. Psychological studies have also shown that action-based video games, including violent ones, can help us to sharpen our cognitive abilities. This allows gamers to think quickly, meaning that they are likely to be more skilled in problem solving, which can help reduce their stress. Banning video games could lead people to seek illegal ways to play, or the worst consequence, they find another harmful outlet for their stress, like drugs and suicide. Fourth argument is playing video games help children develop problem-solving skills. They think critically and strategically to win the game. An article from STEAM Ahead 2023 delivered that video game can also have beneficial impact, particularly in improving problem-solving skills among students. The example is using violence video games in therapy to improve problem-solving and cognitive skills in patients with PTSD. Games like Call of Duty are used in some therapy programs to help patients manage stress and practice problem-solving skills to control environment. The government believes that banning video games can break the cycle of violence. However, bans often easily bypassed. In fact, states with the strictest laws have violent crime rates above the national average. The focus should be on education and digital literacy. Teach children to distinguish between reality and fiction. Parents need to actively monitor the game time and choose age-appropriate games. The game industry should be also encourage including ratings and adult content warning. In the conclusion, the opposition team offers a more comprehensive solutions: education, digital literacy, and parental supervision. Banning video games could lead unintended side effects. Let's protect our children without restricting the creativity and innovation of the video game world. Thank you.
I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, today we debate the motions that the House would ban video games and which the brutal and immoral violence in realistic setting. As the rebel speaker for the government team, I will summarize the key point of reference with why we support these motions. The first is my Prime Minister has stated about parents like supervisions of their children while playing violent video games, resulting in them accessing underage violent video games. The Deputy Prime Minister argued that the repeat exposure to violent video games can lead to the destinations to real-life violence, reducing natural aversions to violence and empathy perspective. Studies indicate that frequent players show less emotional response to violence images and may not react appropriately to real-life violence or distress. And that violent video games can also increase aggressive thought, feeling, and actions, behavior, often resulting in irritability, conflict action, and psychological aggression. The government with strengths, the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister argue with accurate data. And then, my speaker 3, my third speaker has taken and give example. The game GTA V can allow players to engage in recent activities, and research found 89% video games can contribute to aggressive behavior to children. And then freedom speech, my third speaker argument has given data by the Cycleradar.com UK say that 43% these parents report their children has increased aggressions and has obsessive and the language. In conclusion, our team has provided compelling arguments supported by data and real-world examples to show that because of the increase in violent video games like and strict usage on video games, the government team stand here to state that video games should be banned. Repeat export to violent video games can lead to destinations to real-life violence, reducing natural aversions to violence and empathy for victims. Studies indicate that frequent players show less emotional response to violence images and may not react appropriately to real-life relationships. Violent video games can also increase aggressive thought, feeling, behavior, and resulting in irritability, conflict actions, and cycle aggressions in real life too. In conclusion, being first, those example and data clearly show that expensive video game playing can trigger significant real-world violence. So we win for this motion. Thank you.
Okay, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The opposition team have 4 arguments that we shouldn't ban video games in which the player engage in brutal and immoral violence in realistic settings. Because from the leader of opposition teams have 2 arguments. The first one is banning violent video games with reality settings is an absolute demolition of freedom of speech, because game creators limit game creators to releasing games based on their creativity. And the second one is social and economic aspect will be greatly disrupted if we ban violent video games with reality setting, because the video games industry is the largest entertainment industry with millions, even billions of people playing them. The third and fourth argument is from the deputy leader of the opposition team. So the third argument is, if video games were brutal and immoral in realistic settings is done, then people who want to release their stress by playing video games will have difficulty and can take it out to other things such as drug, even committing suicide. Based on the survey from the Entertainment Software Association that have surveyed from 12,000 players in 12,000 countries around the world, and 71% of respondents say playing video games help them to feel less stressed, less anxious, and have a positive effect on their mental health. And the fourth argument is violent video games in realistic settings are basically games that are challenging and require problem-solving skill in order to become the winner. So the player can train and improve their problem-solving skills because of playing video games. And also, the example that third speaker said before. So in conclusion, basically having a violent video games with a realistic settings is not a mistake. Every game has ESRB, so aggressive attitude and case associated with video games are not due to video games itself, but other factors such as parent influential, the environment, education, health, and so on. And also many other impacts that could occur if video games in realistic setting where players engage in brutal and immoral violence is banned. If violent video games cause all kinds of problems, then as more video games become available, crime rates should increase, not decrease. So I firmly say that violent video games should not be banned, and we can win this motion.